In this video, we will be discussing narcissistic personality disorder. So if you're someone who thinks that you might have it, you might have a better understanding after this video. Or if you're someone who thinks that you're involved in some type of a relationship with someone with narcissistic personality disorder, you'll have a better understanding. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Lisa.TaylorAustin. I'm a licensed psychotherapist and expert witness. However, today I'm not acting in any type of a clinical role or diagnosing anyone. I'd like to introduce my special guest, Mr. Leon Walker Jr. Leon is a 32-year naval veteran, the author of 5 books, a motivational speaker, and he also has very successful social media channels on TikTok, YouTube, and Instagram. Thank you for being here today, Leon.
I'm sorry, Lisa. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
That's okay. That's okay. So, Leon, you've been very forthcoming about your connection with narcissistic personality disorder. Can you share a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I was diagnosed many years ago, and it's crazy. I didn't mean to say crazy, but no pun intended. But before I came into the Navy, people used to tell me that my mother was crazy. They called my mother crazy. My mother was doing a lot of things that I thought was crazy. My father used to tease me about my mother. I went through a lot, and then I started feeling like I was crazy too, because some of the things I was doing and the names I was being called, and I wasn't really bullied. I was bullied by a male member of my family, but I became a bully. So a lot of these things started happening to me, and then I go into the military, and my childhood. We'll get to that, but I got diagnosed, and then it was kind of like they kind of tell you, kind of like it's a subtle. To me, it was like a subtle diagnosis. I say that because I started reading my medical record years later, and there was things in there that I read that she didn't tell me, or the other psychiatrists, psychotherapists, and psychologists didn't tell me. So I could be wrong in saying that it was subtle, but I know who I am and what I suffer from. But anyway, once I found out, I got out the Navy, I ran. So for me, it was like, oh, I'm not crazy, just like my mother. And I got out the Navy and went back home, and my mother was still getting high on crack. And so I was like, could I be a crackhead too? I could become what my mother was becoming, because I didn't have I had some of my dad's ways, but I had a lot of my mother's ways. My mother was very, very, she lacked empathy. My mother was, and it didn't happen right away. My mother had these traits, but they started coming out when she started getting high. And I started seeing them. And before I started seeing them, I was feeling them, because there was an incident that happened in the Navy in 1987. We'll talk about that, the USS Stark, where these men were murdered. It was 37 men were murdered. And I was 21 years old, and I had to go get these bodies, and I didn't feel anything. And I'm like, this is weird. I was a black kid from the inner city in the Navy on a ship in the middle of the ocean. That doesn't normally happen. So that was one fear that I had to get over. And then we had to go to these guys that were burned to death. And I'm 21 years old, and I got to pick up fingers, noses, ears, eyeballs, and I just didn't feel anything. So when I got diagnosed, I got out the Navy, thought I was crazy, thought I was weird, and I went back in. Moving forward, years later, back to 2021, I met a lady, which was my girlfriend at the time, and she said, Leon, I know what's going on with you. She's like identified my NPD. She knew she was a nurse. And that's when I started. She said, you need to start doing videos and helping people, because Lisa, I didn't help anybody. I hurt a lot of women. I hurt my kids, but I wasn't helping anyone. I was on my way to hell, and I was on my way to suicide. And so I met you probably last year through my videos, and I had to start helping people because a woman that suggested that I started helping people.
Thanks for sharing that with us. I just want to clarify for people that, Leon is not now, nor has he ever been a client of mine. So it sounds like when you were in the Navy, this is when you first got diagnosed. Did you accept this diagnosis right away?
No. So what happened was, no. Matter of fact, no, because I'd never heard of it. But I knew, Lisa, I knew something was wrong with me. I met one of my ex-girlfriends last year that I was dating in 1990. I dated her from 86 to 91. She's the one that I did the video about stalking on. I stalked her in 1991. And just recently, she said, Leon, you were emotionally detached when we were dating in 1986. I didn't know what emotionally detached was, Lisa, until I started talking to psychotherapists and psychiatrists. I had no idea. I didn't know what avoidance was. I didn't know what anxiety was. I didn't know what mood disorders were. I didn't know what being defensive was, but I felt these things. I couldn't put a word to it until people started putting words to it. And then I felt offended when I was told, because at that time I was doing well in the Navy. I had my own little firefighting team. We were 21 years old. We were rescuing men, men that were already murdered, but I was feeling proud. I was like, man, so the thing about me, I was like, why am I feeling proud and these guys are dead? And I'm like, it was off. And so when I got the diagnosis, I didn't like it. I felt like I was weakened because I'm doing these things in the military, inner city kid in a predominantly white establishment, which was the Navy. And then I hear that I have narcissistic personality disorder. I didn't like hearing a disorder. And so I immediately got upset and offended and then thought I was crazy.
So there was this dichotomy of, I'm doing great, I'm successful, I'm a really good Master Chief, right?
Yeah.
Thank you for your service, by the way.
You're welcome.
And then on the other hand, I'm being told something is wrong with me.
And so I'm like, how can there be something wrong with me if I can function? But I was only functioning at work. I wasn't functioning in a relationship. I wasn't functioning at home. And in the military, the thing about it, it's a breeding ground for narcissism, because when it comes to the grandiose type, it's a breeding ground because you get advanced, they give you more money, they give you more people, they give you more responsibility, right? And more accountability. And you get a letter when you get advanced. By the power invested in me, I now promote you to petty officer 3rd class, or petty officer 2nd class, or petty officer 1st class. And so you get this letter presented, then they pin it on your collars, and you have to act like that person. And so we get this thing about narcissism where you talk about a false sense of reality. The military is a breeding ground for it, but nobody's identifying that because it happens all the time. I'm a prime example. My friends are prime examples. If they go talk to you right now to get some help, you diagnose a lot. You probably diagnose 100% of my friends is with MPD. And I can't prove that, but I know who they are. I know how they act, and I know why they act the way that they act. But in the military, you get promoted and you have to act a certain way. And then you start believing that. But most people, they're not even that person.
Yeah, and I think that's true even if someone's an actor, a CEO of a company, a very successful person in sales. It doesn't really matter the career, but you brought up a good point where I think narcissists are very successful in their careers, but their interpersonal relationships and their home lives are not the same story.
No, because everybody outside of my home life, I had to please, or I thought I had to please, and I wanted to please. And everybody inside of my home was like pleasing me, and they were there. I'm like, you all are there. You're not going to go anywhere. I only have to do so much. And that included my kids. And so I wasn't a good parent. I was good at yelling and screaming and calling my kids names and putting them down and spanking them. When I go to work, I was a totally different human being. And it was, people don't realize, but it's draining. That shift going back and forth, it's just like happens naturally. But, and it's not even like at the end of the day, because for me, my brain is never at the end of the day. It's always, once you do something extraordinary, my happiness was short-lived. And I'm like, this is crazy. I couldn't understand it. And I know you know that, but I had to do something else, and then something else, and then something else. Because once I felt like the luster of it was wearing off, I'm like, I don't feel important anymore. I got to do something else. And at 58 years old, I still feel that way. And I tell people, they're like, well, are you cured? No, I will always have this personality disorder, as you know. And there are ways to the narcissistic people there's things that we can do to work on our behaviors. There are things, although it's hard because I got so used to not working on my behaviors because I was going through life and not have to worry about my behaviors because I was getting rewarded for bad behavior. And most of my life was in the military. So it's a breeding ground, like I said, like you said, for CEOs and entertainers the same way.
How old were you when you first realized maybe you were different from other people?
Probably, to be honest, 11.
Mm-hmm.
11 years old, when my parents got their divorce, I cried a little bit and it shut down after that. My sister noticed I was different. My friends noticed I was different. Some of my classmates, the 7th and 8th grade were the worst years of my life. I hated junior high school. I was very different. I was an oddball. Girls liked me, but there was a time where I was really terrified of girls. And I was like, I knew something was wrong, but being molested and not getting any help, having a male member of my family touch my private parts and not telling anybody, having my babysitter take my virginity at 8 years old, not telling anybody, my brother showing me porn at 7, not telling anybody. At least this went on for years. And so that's who I became. So abnormal became normal to me. It was like, oh, I got a bunch of girlfriends, no problem. I'm having a bunch of sex, that's where it's supposed to be. I'm yelling and screaming at people, calling people names, making people cry. Those things were funny to me. I didn't feel any pain because I'm 11 years old. I had to come home from 6th grade in a nice looking suit with my certificate showing that I graduated from 6th grade. And my mom said, no, don't go in the house. We lost the house. So that morning, leaving for the 6th grade graduation, which my parents didn't come to, I come home to an empty house. And that day we moved. Was sent to live with a lady named Irene. May she rest in peace. She died about 5 years ago. I never got a chance to thank her, but because when she took me in at 11 years old, I wasn't with my parents. I wasn't with my brother and sister. I was at like an illegal foster care program. And Irene took me in, and the crazy part about that, I appreciated it, but I was attracted to her. She was an older lady. And so remember my brother, I said he was showing me porn at 7. I was attracted to older women at 7. So my life started off, it wasn't about love. It wasn't about cuddling and holding hands and getting married and having kids. No, it was about having a variety of sex with a variety of women and being promiscuous. So it started for me early. I didn't mean to ramble on, but.
That's okay. So you had a lot of significant trauma. And I think I heard you say because of that, you felt like there was a certain point. Are you saying that you felt a switch kind of at 11?
Yes. At 11, I was by myself. Of course, I was with Miss Irene and her son. But my mother and my brother moved into a hotel, and my sister moved with Irene's daughter. So it was just me. I'm like, okay, nobody's going to help me out. I had a bed finally, because from ages 4 to 12, I peed in the bed. I was put on the floor. I slept on the floor more than I slept in the bed. And it went from the bed to the floor to the piece of carpet on the floor. And then when we moved in with Miss Irene, I got a bed again. It had been years. And I'm like, wow, this is pretty good. So Miss Irene likes me, but mother don't like me. And that's the way I thought. And so every time I dated somebody, if I liked them, but I liked their mother more. If there was a mother that cooked and said, hey, Lee, I come over, we frying chicken. I got mashed potatoes. I got cabbage. That's your favorite meal. Remember you told me? My mother wasn't doing that. She stopped. And so all my girlfriends, I liked that their moms would cook. And I started seeing women as just being able to cook and clean and be a toy, a sex object. So I had no importance of being in a relationship for long periods of time. I didn't have any staying power when it came to relationship. I knew when I met these young women, I was going to hurt them, but I was like reserved, or not reserved. I was kind of apprehensive about it because I didn't want to hurt their mother. But I said, I can't stay. I got to go, because every time I felt myself getting closer to a woman, I'd leave with no explanation at all.
Thank you for being so transparent about, your past. And, that's not an easy, I know you've talked about it many, many times, but it still isn't an easy thing, I think, to talk about and live with. So I appreciate that because I think many people with narcissistic personality disorder have similar types of backgrounds, maybe not exactly the same, but they never talk about it. And
Nope.
so someone can be married to this person who's a narcissist and never even know that all these things happen to them.
My wife had no idea until we got divorced in 2007. I wrote my first book, my first memoir in 2018. That's when she got wind of it. I was married to her for 12 years, Lisa. Never told her anything. But I didn't tell her anything on purpose because I wanted to keep secrets from her. I enjoyed lying to my ex-wife
So
because
I'm
she was a
curious,
strong woman.
she was a strong woman.
She was a strong woman, and I didn't like the fact that she was strong. So I couldn't manipulate her, and so I did other little evil things. And people need to know if you married like covert narcissism, those men and women they'd have a lot of microaggressive actions, a lot of passive aggressive actions, and so mine was just right passive aggressive, but it was to appease myself, knowing that I was hurting her. Whether she knew it or not, I knew something about me that she would want to know, but she didn't know, so I kept it from her. So to answer your question, my ex-wife didn't find out anything about me until 2018, and at that time, we had been divorced for 11 years.
Wow. What made you get married? I'm curious about that.
That's a very good question. You know what? 3 or 4 other women asked me that question, and it was like, oh, dog. I know the answer, and I was like, I never thought anybody would ask me this. But when they started asking, I was like, let me just go and tell her. And so when I met my wife, my friend introduced me to her. And at the time, I was dating 4 women. I was in Cleveland. I was a Navy recruiter. I was 26, 27 years old, wearing a uniform, hair lined up, smelling good, doing my usual thing. And he said, hey, man, I want you to meet this woman. I'm like, bro, I got 4 girls right now. I'm cool. I don't want nobody else. He's like, I'm telling you, man, you like her. So he introduced me to her. And I was like, wow, she's pretty. She didn't smoke, which I was smoking cigarettes and cigars. She didn't drink. I was drinking. I was in the streets. She wasn't in the streets. She had a degree. She didn't have any kids. The other women I was hanging in with had 2, 3 kids, didn't even go to college, was smoking, drinking. So I was used to abnormal things. I wasn't used to a healthy relationship. I didn't like a healthy relationship, at least. I wanted to yell and scream and fight and drink and smoke and have sex and start over. That was normal to me. When I met her, she didn't do any of that. At nighttime, she would go home to her parents' house like 9 o'clock at night. We're in the house watching TV, soap operas or whatever. I'm like, I just need to get out of this house. She knew it. So anyway, I married her, to answer your question, because I didn't want anybody else to have her. And I knew if we got married, she was going to be faithful. And to this day, I felt like my ex-wife was faithful to me. I wasn't faithful to her, though. My cheating was just because I was stupid. But I married her because I didn't want anybody else to have her. She was a prime catch. And I wasn't ready for her, Lisa, at all. She's like, look, I want to get married. I want to have children. And we have 2 sons, 24 and 28. Or 27, about to be 28. And she was ready to be a mother at 28, 29. I had no idea what it's like to be a father or a husband. No idea. But she was groomed that way. I was groomed the opposite. I was groomed to be in the streets. I was groomed to womanize. I was groomed to lie, cheat, steal, to gaslight, to deceive, to give the silent treatment. I was groomed with all of these narcissistic traits and didn't even know what they were called. So I married her because I didn't want anybody else to have her. It was unfair, and I should not have done that because she deserved a much better human being than I was.
Do you think, looking back on it, do you think she had the qualities of what you would have liked to have had in a stable mother?
Yeah, she had them because her mother was stable. Yeah, she had them. So she saw stability. I saw instability. Don't get me wrong, from birth to 11, my mother was the greatest person in the world. I learned how to swim because of my mother. I learned how to play baseball, basketball, and football because of my mother. I became a Cub Scout because of my mother. The only time I blamed my mother was my parents got divorced and I was shipped off. And I'm like pissed. I should have been mad at my father too, but I gave him I let my father off the hook. And so my mother just kept going into a darker, deeper, darker world. And then she started smoking crack, and that was it. So she smoked crack from 1985 to 2011, and she went into the nursing home, then the hospice, and she died in 2012. And so my ex-wife had those qualities. That's what I mentioned earlier. Every woman that I dated, I would fall in love with their mother before I fell in love with them. I didn't fall in love with them. I fell in love with the perception of a mom, a nurturing woman. My girlfriends had that from their mothers, but they kind of took it for granted. And I'm like, that's your mother. You should be thankful. Like, if your mother says, go to the store go get her some cigarettes, a loaf of bread, don't complain. I would do it for their mothers because that's what I wanted. My girlfriends couldn't get me to do anything. Their mothers could get me to do everything. So I tell people, if women ask me, Leon, what kind of questions should I be asking when I'm dating a guy? Ask him about the relationship he has with his mother, because if he doesn't have a relationship with his mother, you are doomed. You're going to like him, he's going to like you, but there's going to come a time where he's going to disrespect you, he's going to get mad, he's going to get angry, he's going to walk away. Because even to this day, I have my mother's ashes right there on the counter. I talk to my mother every day. I miss my mother, but I miss my whole 32-year Navy career. I missed my mom, and so I didn't have her. And it came out in therapy. That's when I started not being upset with my mother in therapy.
I'm glad that therapy helped you with that. I think that, the basis of narcissism goes back to the significant parent, which usually is the mother. And oftentimes people who have narcissistic personality disorder are cheating, not because they're just cheaters, but they're looking for the perfect relationship, looking for the woman or the man who's going to be that caretaker that they didn't have.
I searched and searched and searched, and Lisa, I tell you, when I cheated, I didn't get nothing out of it. It was like, dude, why did you even do that? And I would go home and sit next to the girlfriend I was with, cheated on her, I'd sit next to her, smelling like another woman. And I'm like, why am I doing, what am I looking for? I searched and searched and searched until I went into therapy in 2000, and the second time was 2014. All my therapists were white females. All of them. I never had a male therapist. Never had a male psychotherapist. The two that I walked in and walked out of was a psychiatrist and a psychotherapist. They're white females. One went to UCLA and the other one went to Northwestern. But they were all white women, and it helped me. People say, well, I'm looking for a black therapist. Bro, it really don't matter. So what happened was when I walked in her office, the first thing out of her mouth, she said, you don't have to come in here being a big bad guy, Mr. Walker. I was like, do I act like that? She said, yeah, I see it's all over your body language. It's all over your face. I'm walking like I'm a big bad guy. She said, no, we're not going to do that. You don't have to do that in here. I am not going to hurt you. And I never forgot that. And when she said that, Lisa, I'm like, man, I feel like I lost 50 pounds. I didn't realize I was carrying that with me throughout my life.
Did she help you self-reflect? Did she help you?
Every time we went, that's what I was scared of. And I was like, She's like, come on, Mr. Walker. I used to walk into that office, so in the VA office, they call a number. You get on there, you pick a number. And then I guess after a while, it's just my time, I would go there, fill out my paperwork, and we do the numbers and stuff, and numbers and numbers. And then, but yeah, that's what I was afraid of, because it's like, she would tell me, okay, next week we're gonna talk about your mother. I was like, oh no, I don't want to do this. But I liked her so much, I was so comfortable, and I'm like, okay, I'll be back. I'll do it. Because I had a bad habit of avoiding stuff. At least I had a bad habit of running. I was like, I could go to work and just lead and direct and groom and develop people and rah, hey, high five. After work, I was like, oh, I feel like nobody. I don't want to, nobody asked me to self-reflect at work because they saw me as this leading guy, this strong, tough, courageous man. So I didn't have to worry about self-reflecting because people were like stroking my ego. I was like, oh, this is good. The moment I got off work, I'm like, oh, who am I now? I felt like nobody. So going in with her, I was like, self-reflect. So, but I did it though. And once we start talking about it, I'm like, it wasn't that bad. Narcissistic people create things that don't even exist, Lisa. The things that I was creating in my mind wasn't even there, but I became afraid of it. Like, is this going to happen? Is this going to happen? Because I knew I would do something to hurt somebody and thinking they're going to do something to hurt me, but they weren't like me. So I was creating these things, and my ex-girlfriend was like, "Leon, what is wrong?" I didn't know. I didn't know what was wrong with me, but that false sense of reality, and then just being creative things, putting things in my mind that didn't exist, and then self-reflecting. Yeah, she got me with that one. That one, learning how to forgive, avoidance, the assessment, all those things, forgiving, writing letters to family members. Oh, it was tough because at least I enjoyed being angry about what I was angry about. I liked it. And so I'm like, I'm not wrong. Those MFs are wrong. I didn't curse in therapy, but I was telling like, no, why do I have to write them a letter? She's like, well, and that was the hardest. That was hard because I always felt like people wronged me, but I didn't feel bad about wronging other people. She said, that's not healthy. That's not fair, Mr. Walker. But so she got me, and I was like, all right, let's do it. So yeah, the self-reflecting was huge. It was huge.
So it sounds like you were ready at that point.
So the thing of exactly. And the first lady I walked in her, I looked at my paperwork. I'm like, what the hell is a psychotherapist? I didn't even know what you all were. I didn't know what a psychotherapist was. And so the hospital said, hey, you gotta go see the psychotherapist. I'm like, what the hell is going on with me? Why? And then I went in there, and matter of fact, I looked at my medical record, and she said, Mr. Walker entered my office with a bad attitude, like he did not want to be here. And he stayed for 18 minutes and he left. I read this last year, 2 years ago, and I was like, I don't remember Lisa doing that to her.
I'm glad you brought that up. 18 minutes, though, was actually good. That was a pretty long time for you. So I'm impressed you stayed that long, because I know it wasn't easy to go in there. But I'm glad you brought up not remembering it, because there's a lot of memory gaps that come with narcissistic personality disorder. I think that part of it is, when people feel like they have to present the false self, oftentimes they act like different people to different people.
Yeah.
So someone with narcissistic personality disorder isn't necessarily projecting the same persona to John as they are to Mary, as they are to Alicia. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I have wondered myself if that's what contributes to these memory gaps, because I'm thinking you have to compartmentalize these people in some way. Am I right about that?
Yeah. So let me tell you a quick story. Last year, my ex-wife, myself, her brother, and her girlfriend went out to dinner. Great place. We just so happened as we ate and we started laughing and talking. And she started talking about our relationship. She said, Leon, do you remember when we went to marriage counseling? I'm like, yeah, I remember. I remember going to marriage counseling, Lisa. I do remember going. But when I got there, it was automatic shut down. It was automatic turn into monster, F you. So when she was sitting next to me, nudging me, laughing, and I was like, dang, I don't remember anything after walking in his door. So she started talking while we were at dinner. She said, I told him to call me by my nickname, Double O. She said, I told the counselor to call me by my nickname. And then I started going off and yelling and screaming at him. I don't remember any of that. And I didn't tell her that at the moment. When I came home here, I thought about it. I was trying my best to remember the marriage counseling, Lisa, but I don't, nothing comes back. I remember sitting on this couch and a blank. That's it.
Sounds like it was a threatening experience. And so I'm wondering if that was a defense mechanism to not remember. Very similar.
Yeah.
to how when people have trauma,
Mhm.
especially childhood trauma, they don't remember a lot of it.
And so I didn't realize that I didn't remember until 3 months ago when we talked about it. We went to marriage counseling in 1998, 99, and we just talked. First time we ever talked about it was 3 months ago. And she's like, Liam, you remember when we went to marriage counseling? You told him to call you by your nickname, and you got up yelling, screaming, and you walked out. I was like, I don't remember. I didn't tell her that. We laughed about it. But I only remember her saying we got marriage counseling today, and I remember driving there, and I remember getting out the car, and boom, sitting on the couch and nobody's in this room but me. So something happened.
I want to give you an example about memory. Let's say a person goes and plays, a person who has narcissistic personality disorder goes and plays golf. They come home, they put the golf clubs by the door, they go eat lunch. They might not remember ever playing golf, but they look at the golf clubs and they look at their car and they in the driveway and they say, okay, my car's in a different spot than it was last night. I see these golf clubs. I must have gone to play golf.
Yeah.
Did that kind of a thing ever happen to you?
All the time. And it got so bad to where I would tell my ex-girlfriend, I just started laughing. I'm like, look, I'm about to tell you something. Just laugh with me. Because I didn't want her to laugh at me. It would have been offensive. So I tried to like make it a soft blow for myself. I said, hey, I remember doing this, and I know that my phone is right there and my shoes over there, but I was supposed to go for a run. Why am I sitting on this couch? So yeah, it happened. It happens often. It still happens. And I called my sister the other day. I said, I did something and I don't know what it was, but I called my sister. I'm like, I need some help with something because something is not right. But it happens a lot, Lisa. Yeah, for me it does. It's not as like as scary as it used to be, because when it happened before, I was like, I thought that I was losing my mind because it was something real simple. And then when it come back to me, I go, oh, okay. And I get scared because if I put a pan on the stove and leave the stove on and walk out and walk the dog and come back, the butter may be burning. But I'm like, I don't remember turning that eye on. Yeah, it still happens. It does. It's not as scary as it used to be, but it happens.
I think there's a lot of disassociation that happens in narcissistic personality disorder. And sometimes if someone lives with someone who has narcissistic personality disorder, it can sometimes look to the other person as though the narcissist almost has multiple personality disorder, or DID is another name for it. But it's not that exactly. It's like the narcissist presents themselves in all these different ways. And in trauma therapy, we call that parts. So when we have trauma that happens to us, we kind of get shattered, and we have all these different separate parts that need to be kind of glued back together.
Right. Yeah. I mean, my thing is shifting and being a different person. And it was like, to me, it was like impressive, but it was to the point to where I didn't think there was anything wrong with shifting like that, because I had to feel good about who I was at that time for that person. And then sometimes it was like, hope I don't see them again. I got to be this other person again. And then when I did get around those people again, I became whoever I became at that moment. And I didn't necessarily always like who I was at that time either, though.
Mm. When you were married and cheating, anybody can be a cheater, right? But I think a lot of times with, like we said earlier, with narcissism, there's an element of, I'm looking for the perfect person who's going to kind of replace this mother figure. Now, it sounds like you already had that with your wife in a way, right? She was a good woman. She did end up being the mother of your children. Right. How do you think narcissists think of all these different partners that they have? How do you think of that in your mind? Like, are they just playthings? Are they friends?
Each one comes with something different. So My wife was a good-looking woman. She was a great mother, but I didn't like her as a wife. She was, to me, she's a great wife for another man, but just not for me, because she didn't do my addictions. So she didn't meet me on my lowest level. The women that met me on my lowest level, hey, Leanne, come over. I got some porn and alcohol. I'm gone. That's my buddy. I like her. Hey, Leanne, I got some Black and Milds and we cooking some steaks. My family's out in the back. My family, my wild, my crazy family. Oh, yeah, I go. Yeah, we're going to have fun because they like to smoke and gamble and talk trash and flirt. Oh, I'm going over here. Hey, Leanne, come over. Let me give you a massage. I know you've been hurting, so I'll give you a massage and cook your ham and cheese and I got some barbecue chips and a great pop. My mind clicked instantly. So every different woman had something different that I liked. I may not even like I didn't like everything about everybody anyway. But if she had one thing that appeased me, my selfish mindset, okay, oh, we good. I'll spend 2-3 days with you. But after that, I'm not going to like you anymore. Because and I remember this too, Lisa, you caused me to cheat on my wife, or you caused me to cheat on my ex-girlfriend. So I don't like you right now. You knew, and I would blame her.
Yes.
Where all I had to do was say no, but I'm not gonna say I couldn't say no, but I'll say I couldn't say no because I didn't want to say no. So now my ex-wife had a lot of morals and character and integrity. I didn't have that. So that made me feel very uncomfortable. So the women that were just like me, with no morals, no character, integrity, oh, that was beautiful. I like them. They're my favorites. But the women that were strong and healthy and wonderful and wholesome, oh, that was too much for me. I'm like, oh no, I don't like you. But I married her to keep her away from other people.
You've talked before about how you felt like people in your life, you owned them. They were your property.
Yeah,
What does that kind
yeah.
of sound? What does that sound like in your mind? The reason I'm asking is because I think people watching this might have been in a relationship with someone who has narcissistic personality disorder, or they currently are, or they're the child of.
Right.
What does that kind of sound like?
So to me, it sounds exactly like they owe me. You owe me. You owe me
They
because
owe you.
Oh yeah, I love bombed you and you accepted it. I did everything that you said your ex wasn't doing. You should have never told me that. So I'm going to become your ex and I'm going to become me. So if you stick around, you stay, you like this, you enjoy it, I'm actually doing you favors. So you owe me after all this because the love bombing is not about love. Love bombing is not even about making you feel good. It's about me showing you what I can do, what I'm capable of. And I really would go deeper in with women that didn't have what I was capable of doing, that didn't get anything from their exes. So I warn women, be careful what you tell a person in front of you, and men too. Don't tell these people what you weren't getting from your last relationship, what you needed, what you desired, what you just fiend for. Because a narcissistic person is going to become that person. It was all about my ego. Well, can I do this for her? Can I do this for her? And I was able to do these things, but these women were good women. They had just been starved, Lisa. So I knew if I go behind her and rub her shoulders, oh, she's gonna melt. Because she told me that, oh, Leon, he never rubbed my shoulders, he never rubbed my neck. Don't tell me that, and then you tell me that, I'm gonna do it. But in my mind, I'm thinking you, and I knew better. I'm thinking that you telling me because you want me to do this because you want to use me. So after you use me, now you owe me. And she'll go, oh, I never said that, but I would start acting like that because the love bombing is going to go away after 2-3 months at most. Depends on how much I liked her.
So the relationship was transactional. I do
Oh,
this
yeah.
for you, you do this for me.
It's got to be, yeah, because it had to be that way because I know that I'm going to leave eventually, but you don't know that I'm going to leave. But before I leave, I'm going to make sure you are deeply in love with me. And that's what I did. Because I was afraid of getting close to women, but I wanted them to be close to me. So close that they couldn't move on and date anybody else when I leave. So the hoovering, when I hoover, I'm going to come back and you're not going to tell me no. When I leave, this next guy's not going to be able to do, in my mind, he can't do everything that I did for you. They're not going to be that close to you. I had to make myself believe that. And when I would go back to women, they'd go, Leon, you act like you don't know I got a man. I'm like, I know you got a man, but he ain't me. I would always say that. And I meant it too. So because I couldn't take rejection. So based on the love bombing, the thought of you owe me, that's really how I felt. Because when I stopped love bombing you, you're gonna want it, you're gonna desire it, you're gonna fiend for it. So you're gonna pay me back in some kind of way. It was, to me, it was never financial. One thing I can say I didn't take was a woman's money. But I thought I would pride myself on that. But that was what I did take was just as bad as taking money. I took their hearts. I broke promises. You know, I did a lot of things other than take their money. They probably wish I would have taken their money because I misled a lot of women. I did. I mean, that love bombing makes them think that they're very important and we're going to get married. And no, it wasn't going to happen.
Well, what you just said goes back to the ownership. If you keep them attached to you,
yeah,
it's like you kind of own this
Oh
group
yeah,
of women.
yeah. It was like, and I got so comfortable, Lisa, with it. I would tell women that, hey, you're not the only one. I'm just gonna be honest with you. But I was being very manipulative because I knew that women like honesty. Although it was brutal and it was cold-blooded to say that, I said, I'm just being honest. Oh, at least you're being honest. And it was that I knew then, yep, she ain't going nowhere. So if you catch me out with somebody, don't act up. I'll probably see you the next day. And it worked, sadly.
So we know that the partners feel codependent on the narcissist, but I believe, and I've heard you say, that the narcissist is also codependent on the partner.
And Lisa, what people miss when they talk about supply isn't just a woman. Supply could be a drug. Supply could be an ego stroke. Supply could be an abundance of money. How could I not be codependent on you if we consider we use this term? So Leon, what does he do with the next supply? It could be anything, but I needed that just like she needed this from me. But I'm not going to tell her that I need these things. I know that I need them because I like them. I have a very addictive personality. So I have to, I'm going to desire you or what you have in some kind of way. So I was very codependent. But what helped me out is that I can drop my emotions and go be codependent on somebody else and not be codependent on one person. The problem that women have with narcissistic men or men have with narcissistic women is that they solely become codependent on that one person. I was able to become codependent on various women. Like I mentioned earlier, she has this, she has this, she has that. So I was codependent. If you didn't have this, then I'm gonna go over here and get it from her. But if I'm getting this from you right now and I want something different tomorrow night or 2 hours from now, I can be codependent because I have that connection with her. I didn't allow it to become so deeply driven that it became like chemistry between us because I would have been too comfortable for me. It's okay for her to be comfortable to have chemistry with me, but it's not okay for me to have chemistry with her. So I was always distant. I was there, but I wasn't there.
Mm. I think many partners feel that when they're with a person who has narcissistic personality disorder. They feel like they're.
Oh yeah, the thing is, it's like, Leon, you kind of feel absent. I don't kind of, after I did all this stuff and we went out all this weekend, I took care, you gonna complain? Oh, no, I'm sorry. But yeah, they become afraid to admit to it. The other person. They know that I'm there, but I'm distant. They'll, Leon, you seem kind of, no, I'm good. I'm watching TV. I would do that, but I was distant. And distance for me meant thinking about somebody else, not wanting to be there at the moment, right? Disregarding her, giving her the silent treatment. So yeah, they know that you can feel the distance because I go from 100 miles an hour here, then I'm dropping because my emotions are starting to wear off. I'm not like you like I used to 2 months ago. And so yeah, that you feel it. You do.
You get bored.
Very quick, sadly. And that's something I have to work on. I still work on that because, oh, it's scary. You know what, though, Lisa? The reason why I got bored is because I was greedy. I was bored because I couldn't get enough of her, and her. If I'm with this good woman, and I've never had a bad woman. I've never had a bad woman. This lady said, I said in one of my videos, she said, oh, that's because you knew how to choose them. Well, I had the great women, I had the wholesome women, I had the Christian women, I've had all good women, but when I got bored is when I became very greedy. Is when I chose to like use or fall into my greedy trait, which was always was with my flesh. It was always something sexual with the woman. So just because I got bored with her didn't mean that she wasn't a good woman. She was. I was just greedy. I had a good woman here. So now I'm like, can I be in a relationship and stick with her and not let my greed take over? I can. When I was greedy, Lisa, I didn't have any fears. I didn't have any fears of cheating. I didn't have any fears of getting caught. I didn't have any fears of consequences. None. I'm like, whatever. If I get caught, I'll do something to make up for it. And you're gonna stick around. Nobody ever left me. Nobody.
That's interesting. Not one partner or one person.
Nope. I don't even know what it's like to be cheated on, Lisa. And my friends like, man, come on, man. I have no idea. Maybe they were good at cheating. I don't know. But I never felt like she was with another man. I never smelled another man around her. I just, don't know what it feels like to be cheated on. And it could be because I didn't want to face it. I didn't know what it was like. One time when I stalked my ex-girlfriend, we were broken up, but she went on and dated a guy and I lost my mind. That's probably why I did not want to become comfortable with knowing that she's possibly cheating. Oh, did she cheat? I didn't want to deal with that. So what I do, I just didn't ask the question, or I did more to make her think that I was cheating, so she would be so hurt she couldn't cheat. She would spend more time trying to figure me out. And if I got tired of her trying to figure me out, then I'll start being nicer to her again, knowing that I can hold on to her. That's all it was.
Sounds like the goal was loyalty. You wanted to make sure these people were very loyal to you.
Yeah, and the odd part about that is that I wasn't loyal to them, But yeah, so So I was a very unfair guy. I wanted this, but I wasn't going to give you that, and it always worked out for me until it didn't work out, And when it didn't work out, I was already ready to be gone anyway, so I didn't feel like I was losing anything.
Have you had a relationship since you went through therapy?
Yes, I had two. And boy, oh boy, let me tell you, the second one was the reason why I'm making these videos. She's the one who was the nurse, and she knew about NPD, and she's like, Leon, I know. And I told her, I said, yeah. Nobody else ever did that to me. And luckily, it's like, I was 55 years old, 3 years ago. And I liked her. She was cool. We had a lot of fun. And she said, no, I can't, Leon. I know what you are, and I can't do this with you. But I have mad respect for her. She was mad after a while, after breaking up. She broke up with me. And that was the first time that ever happened. I know I told you women never let me, but when you brought this up, it made me think about it. She was 3 years ago, this first time it happened. But she told me, she said, no, I know, you know what NPD is, and I know you know, Leon, and I know what it is. And she just wouldn't let up. I was like, listen, stop. And she said, well, why don't you just start making videos? And I was like, no, hell no, I'm not doing that. No. And I was like, let me try. But I was still being egotistical, right? So I did a video, and it was a real spooky video. I'm trying to find it for you. It was my first video 3 years ago. It was real spooky, and it went viral because nobody had ever seen like a 55-year-old black male, ex-military, talk about his NPD. Besides Lee Hammock, he was doing it, but I was the second guy. And so it went viral, and a few celebrities had started sharing it, and it just kept going and going and going. And then people started calling me names, and you ain't SHIT, you're demonic, you're sick, I hate you, Leon. I'm like, Jesus. So I blame him. I'm like, look, you set me up for this. Because she would get my video and say, look at all these views you got. Look at you, son of a, I'm like, you did it. You recommend that I do these. So anyway, she was the one that really got me doing these videos. Before her, after therapy, I dated a woman that I've been known for a long time, and she was just like me, Lisa. I was like, there's no way there's no way this is not going to work. I was attracted to her. She's pretty, but she was damaged like me. She was doing things to me before I was doing things to her, and I was like, oh, I couldn't handle it. I didn't like it. That's why I tell people I would never date a Leon. Person like me, never. It ain't gonna happen. So after therapy, it was two. The first one that was like me, and the second one that saw me for who I was and said, you need to start helping people.
And you're helping a lot of people. You know,
I'm
your
trying.
videos are very direct, but they're insightful. We don't hear the kind of the truth, really. You speak the truth. We don't hear the
Yeah.
truth
Yeah.
about what a narcissistic person is actually thinking.
Yeah, and
And
go ahead, I'm sorry.
I think it's helpful for two reasons. I think it can help people who think they might have narcissistic personality to kind of like identify, like, whoa, this guy sounds just like me.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing is, you're telling the real to the partners of people who are in these narcissistic relationships, who I think are in a lot of denial.
Major denial. You know how many women call me daily? I said, look, I can't take these calls all day. They go, Leon, you told me he was going to do this last week and he did it. I'm like I told you, we have a lot of similarities. I don't care if this guy is 6'8" white guy, Viking. We do think alike a lot often. We have differences, but we have similarities. And I tell these women, this is what's going to happen. Possibly, I can't guarantee you, but the way that I think and what you tell me about him, this was going to happen. And lo and behold, the last 3 years, it has happened every single time I tell these women what he or she is going to do. I'm talking to a friend right now, and he's dealing with a woman. He's a white guy. She's white. She's very pretty. And I said, I think this is what's going to happen. And boom. I said, he went on a trip where he said, man, I think she's got these traits, bro. I said, well, if you go on that trip with her, you're going to find a whole lot, because now you're isolated with her. At least when I was isolated with somebody that I kind of liked, it drove me nuts. But I would take a chance and go on a 3 or 4 day trip with somebody, trying to impress them and trying to get them to be loyal to me. And I would jeopardize my friendship with somebody else because I'm going over here with 4 days with her, just to see if I can deal with her and get her to be loyal to me. And it drove me nuts. So I knew then, when my friend was telling me about a trip he's going on with her, I said, 4 days, you're going to see a lot. You're going to get a lot of answers. And when he came back, Lisa, he said, man, Leon, you were right. He said, I don't even like her like I used to. I saw so many different things. So when we're isolated with one person and we're supposed to like them, but we really don't like them, it comes out. Your addictions come out, your anger comes out, your dissatisfaction comes out, your truth comes out. Oh, you don't really want to be with me. You don't really like me. You just like having sex with me. You like traveling with me. Yeah. But I couldn't be still with one person for 4 days. I couldn't.
I want to ask you a question that I don't know that I've ever heard asked. If someone's watching and they're wondering if they have narcissistic personality disorder, what advice would you give to them?
What I would do, if there's a military, let's go to military person. With a military person, I would always recommend that they call the crisis hotline number, 988. It's not about just suicide. When you call that number, you say, hey, this is what I'm experiencing. This is what I think. This is what I feel. I remember my dad saying this, my mom doing this. I just want to get some help. And because, Lisa, there's a waiting list for therapists now. I didn't even know that. And it's a long waiting list. So I recommend that if you can't get in through the 988 number, the crisis hotline, if you can't get a therapist through that way, there are plenty of therapists on social media that you can really get access to also. Or read up on the traits, learn the traits, be honest, be brutally honest, even if you don't want to read it and you think that's it, accept it, that is it. But you got to be honest. Read all the traits, go over everything that you could possibly go over. Look up PTSD, look up the 8 stages of PTSD too. Look at all of that, look at everything, because they may not be narcissistic. They may be a sociopath, a psychopath, may just have severe PTSD. They may just have anxiety disorder or mood disorder. And those are parts of MPDS, but if you can't get to a therapist through 988, check on social media. There's plenty of them that will talk to you. But read up, learn it, but don't just read it and learn it and start pointing fingers at people, because that's not the way to do it. Because that doesn't
How-
mean that person's a narcissist.
Right, absolutely. How would it benefit someone who thinks they might be? How would it benefit them to maybe get diagnosed and get treatment?
What happens is there are a lot of benefits. You learn about yourself. You learn about your past. You learn why you act the way that you act. You learn why you treat people the way that you treat people. You even learn that you don't need the things that you think you need. If you can be just a good human being, life is going to work for you. You learn that you don't have to be verbally abusive. You learn that you don't have to chase women or men. You learn that you don't have to be afraid. You learn that you don't have to suppress things. You learn that you don't have to avoid things. You can face the truth and you might feel better as opposed to lying. I lied about a lot of things, Lisa, and I didn't even have to lie. My ex-wife used to tell me, Leon, you don't have to lie, just tell me the truth. I'm like, oh yeah, I gotta lie. I couldn't tell you the truth because the truth was too bad for me. It hurt too much. I felt like a loser when I told the truth. But when you get therapy, when you go, it's good. It's healthy. To me, therapy is like, it was the best thing that I did in my life. It wasn't the advancements, the promotions, the awards. All that stuff was nice, but it was short-lived. When I started getting therapy, I was like, man, this feels pretty good. I can apologize. Because my ex-girlfriend told me, she said, Leon, you never apologize. I was like, no, the hell, I'm not going to apologize for what? At least I did not. I had it bad. I could never apologize, ever. So I learned about that. One of the hardest things for me in therapy also was forgiving. I didn't know how to forgive because I liked being angry at people that either hurt me or thought less of me. So I like to hurt, in kind of in ways to hurt them about whatever, not speaking to them, not calling them, coming in town, not telling them I'm in town, whatever I did to hurt them. It felt better to do that as opposed to apologize or forgive. I enjoy my evil traits. And I know I get that, just not to blame my mother, but I know where I get it. I get it from my mother. My mother's a hell of a woman, but my mother gave me 85% of the good stuff. The 15%, she gave me that too. So I was winning either way, but those strong negative traits, Lisa, were the ones that I really grasped onto, for survival, because it felt good to harm people. It did. Not physical, but verbal and mental abuse. It's like it made me feel powerful. And so going to therapy, I didn't need those traits that I had. I didn't have to use those traits. I didn't have to blame my mother. And I found that in therapy, I found that I was wrong about my mother, about a lot of things. I found out my mother was successful in junior high school and high school. She didn't graduate. She dropped out in 9th grade. My dad dropped out in 9th grade. But my mother could multitask. My mother was big on knowing people's personalities. And like I told you, she was my den mother. I was a Cub Scout. She taught me how to swim. She taught me how to run track, all these things. My dad was there, but he was at work. So he had the brawn, but my mother had the brain. And I never gave her credit for that. But in therapy, you learn who your parents are amongst other people. So that's why you should get therapy. I love it.
I'm glad you got some burden taken off of you.
I did. I needed to.
Leon, I appreciate your time, us being able to have insight, your forthcomingness, and we'll be doing another video again for people to watch. And thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me, and I enjoyed it. Those are great questions.
All right, you take care, Leon.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.